I basically want to give you an overview because this will help you to understand this lens of view of how I see the body, how I incorporate the visceral organs and the nervous system into this truly whole body organism approach to rehabilitation and performance. I think sometimes we lose perspective of just how ingrained in our cellular memory, our cellular operating system, how our bodies are wired to develop on their own with not a whole lot of input from us, from one cell, a joined cell, a zygote, that becomes an embryo, which becomes a fetus, which becomes a baby. And that baby goes from being helpless to learning how to move, eat, talk, think, run, jump, do all the things virtually on its own, right? Nobody teaches the baby how to walk, right? Nobody teaches the baby how to even roll over or sit up. The baby does this because the whole organism, every cell in its body is designed as this like amazing supercomputer. I really do feel that we've lost sight of that. We've lost sight of how amazing the human body is. With that said, I want to just do a little like formal, what is MovementRev? Because like I said, I am taking an osteopathic type of belief system and marrying it with a more allopathic Western medicine sports performance thing and bringing them together and creating my own unique thing. Just like you will create your own unique thing. So the MovementRev mission statement is to teach as many athletes and sports healthcare professionals as possible how to trust their bodies, optimize recovery, and improve performance. It's literally what drives me every day. I love teaching people how to trust their bodies and how to appreciate how amazing their own body is and how capable their own body is, and leveraging that to optimize recovery and improve performance. I love working with athletes. I love sport. I love being part of that all. I love seeing people use their bodies to do things like that. And I know that the best way to reach more athletes is to reach more professionals that work with athletes. So I am reaching out to you to ultimately reach more of them. What are MovementRev philosophies? These are my and my business, MovementRev's, basic beliefs, my attitudes, and some concepts that are important to understand. So these are my guiding belief system. This is my bias. This is the bias of how I see how the body is and how it moves and how it heals and how it performs. Number one, the body can heal itself. This is a shared belief from osteopathic medicine. The body, like I described at the beginning, it is a self-tuning, self-healing organism. The primary job of the musculoskeletal system is to protect the organs. You may have already heard me say this, but that is fundamentally always has been and always will be the primary job of the musculoskeletal system: protect the vital organs. This is why our really important organs are inside hard frame skeleton structures. Movement dysfunction is a loss of biotensegrity or a pattern of protection. So movement dysfunctions are present when the body is protecting something more important, i.e. the organs, or protecting itself from getting hurt, protecting itself because it feels threatened and not safe, or is just a lack of dynamic alignment because we are not participating in our biotensegrity or fascial tensegrity of how the structure uses coupled and combined movements to improve movement efficiency and economy. I also believe very strongly that the practitioner, the sports healthcare provider, no matter what type of provider you are, you must be doing the work in your own body. Another belief, one of my favorite quotes from Jill Miller, The body thinks and feels, meaning feeling is better, more powerful, more sensitive, more true than thinking. The better we can be at improving our sensory information, the better output we will have. Some other concepts that are part of the MovementRev philosophy is that the neurovascular structures must be free to act and do their part, right? The neurovascular structures, and you could even say the neurolymphatic vascular structures, must be free to glide and slide and move within the containers of the body because they are an extension of visceral organs. The nerves are an extension of the brain. The vessels, the vascular structures are an extension of the heart and the lungs. And the lymph is an extension of the vascular structures as well as the spleen and the liver. Another concept that is really important is that the body is the smartest one in the room, not the practitioner. The body of the person you are working on, as well as your own body, which is why it's so important to get letting go of the ego, getting out of that thinking mind and leaning into the feeling. Another belief is that lasting change happens only in a parasympathetic state. It is very difficult to optimize healing, improve performance on someone who is in a state of fight or flight or freeze. If their nervous system does not feel safe, then it doesn't matter if you do the best treatment in the world, if you do the best strength training in the world, their nervous system will always keep them in a protective mode. The practitioner is merely a tinkerer or a guide. We are not fixing people. We are not healing people. We are not fixing people. We are not as important as the society makes us believe we are, which is part of the hard part of letting go of our ego. Is for years and years and years, we have been told that the medical professional, the healthcare professional, is the smartest person, is the expert, and is the person to do the healing and do the fixing, and we are not. That is the body's job. We are simply there to assist the body. The last belief is that the loss of the ability to compensate is the issue, not the compensation itself. The body is made to compensate. That is actually what makes us so amazing as human organisms. Like, shit can happen to us, and we deal with it, and we continue to move on. So now let's talk about MovementRev Principles, which are fundamental laws and assumptions. So these are the guiding laws and assumptions that I use while I'm practicing, while I'm seeing the body in this bias. I pull from osteopathic principles. This is the body wisdom. The body is the smartest one in the room. The body is self-healing and is constantly seeking a state of homeostasis, though understanding homeostasis is not a flat line in the middle. It is an ability to come in and out of threat. Another osteopathic principle that is a MovementRev principle is that the organs are supreme. The organs are the most important thing to the body. Lack of movement creates disease on a micro level and on a macro level. We know this. As we are in the movement industry, we know that when you're not moving, you're not very healthy, right? Sedentary is a problem. But also, not just from a movement, from a musculoskeletal standpoint, even the organs and the cells, the microstructures, we need micro movement in order to keep healthy as well. So movement on every level. Some anatomy principles that I use. I'm a big fascia nerd, so I see everything from this fascial biotensegrity standpoint. I lean into embryology quite a bit, and then physics, right? We're basically a whole series of pressure fluid dynamic system. And then of course biomechanics. Biomechanics is the anatomy principle, the science principle that I think most people are more familiar with. The movement principles, I've already sort of talked about these a little bit, but the nervous system is queen. However, then our autonomic nervous system, it's also queen because again, we're going back to the body is constantly seeking to survive. That's its primary concern, is survival. And then looking at movement from an efficiency standpoint is knowing that we are sensory beings, that we need to improve our input if we want to improve our output. Our output being movement, manipulating the environment, manipulating the movement experience to have the desired outcome on movement is how I approach things, as opposed to cueing the output and trying to change the output. So the MovementRev method, which is a system, procedure, technique, or mode of inquiry employed to a particular discipline. How do we go about putting these principles, these philosophies into practice? We listen to the body, right? Because we are understanding that fundamental body wisdom through an assessment of using the locator tests, so the LTAP, the locator test assessment protocol, as well as measuring or assessing autonomic nervous system reactivity. We meet the body where it's at to create safety and facilitate rest, regeneration, and recovery. I teach movement within the fascial tensegrity system, utilizing all the sensory organs, breath, and bones, and dynamic alignment to facilitate that movement efficiency. And I approach movement dysfunction and pathology from a visceral and neural-based bias, meaning if someone's movement dysfunction is present, whether it is poor hip extension or lacking upward rotation of the shoulder, instead of looking at that purely biomechanically about what muscles are firing or not firing or need strengthening or need stretching, the sort of the old way of thinking, I'm looking at what organs relate to that area, what nerves relate to that area, what nerves could be entrapped that is limiting the hip going into extension or the hip going into flexion. So the system that I use is a system of assessment, which is a locator test assessment protocol, the LTAP, an ANS assessment, and then movement map assessment. So I still look at movement because movement is still my primary thing I care about. I want everyone to feel good in their body, moving their body, and performing well. And then from a performance standpoint, like I said, it's big on movement with tensegrity, creating a movement experience in a developmental sequence, so tapping into that already level of cellular intelligence that is within our body as a human organism. And then also leaning into teaching people about their body and teaching people how to take care of themselves, so self-care, cultivating awareness and self-reliance and compliance, and facilitating people being smarter about paying attention to how they feel, trusting it, and then implementing a intervention. So the goals is to use all of that, use those systems, use those methods with the guiding principles and philosophies to decrease injury potential, improve performance, have people feel good in their body, expose the self-healing and self-tuning capabilities that are innate within our intelligent organism, have people be an active participant in their health by helping them improve their body ownership and body agency. And ultimately, my goal is for my athlete or my client to not need me anymore. Hopefully that gives you sort of a good overview on where I'm coming from and how I've sort of pulled everything together. Thank you for joining me. Can't wait till next time. Have a great day.